All right, welcome back to the deep dive. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026.
Here we are.
And, the first thing we always have to do is just orient ourselves on the map, find out where we are.
Right, the "you are here" marker.
And that marker is sitting squarely on day 8 of the Greg 3.1 timeline. We're in the 78-day Reality Transurfing Master Curriculum.
Day 8. Yeah, we're definitely, we're in it now. The training wheels are off.
They are. And looking at the curriculum for today, the designated theme is the Pink Twins. Now, I have to be honest, when I first saw that title, my initial reaction was, it sounds a little soft, maybe a bit whimsical.
It does. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale or, I don't know, an obscure indie band.
Exactly. A children's book. But then you look at the source material, you look at Vadim Zilin's work, and he's adamant that this is not whimsy.
No, not at all.
It's not a fairy tale. It is a hardcore mechanics-based principle for shifting reality.
Physics, really.
Yes, physics. So we are absolutely going to unpack this physics-based approach to what most people just call rose-colored glasses.
Right.
But before we get to the solution, before we even touch the Pink Twins, we have to deal with the reality on the ground. We have to address the elephant in the room.
Or, more accurately, the Greg in the room.
We have the data, we have the daily journal entry, we've got the looper update, and look, we promise to be totally honest with this whole process.
No sugarcoating.
Zero sugarcoating. And the coordinates right now, well, they're visceral.
They are. It's raw data. And it's important data.
So let's just lay it all out. Let's put it on the table so we can actually look at it. Our listener, Greg, is supposed to be executing day 8 of this, high-performance protocol.
It's supposed to be.
But the report from the field shows a significant stumble right at the launch. Day 1, February 10th.
Right out of the gate.
Drinks were had. That triggered a whole biological cascade hangover, migraines, you know the drill. And the quote from the journal is just, it's brutal in its honesty.
What does it say?
I stumbled right out of the blocks.
Wow. Stumbled right out of the blocks. And if we look at the status update for this Tuesday afternoon, right now, as we're talking, you're currently in pajamas, you haven't showered, haven't brushed your teeth, and the feeling just kind of permeating all the data is that the week has already gotten away from you.
And there's one specific data point that I think is driving about 90% of the anxiety right now.
Okay.
It's the metric that hurts the most. You wrote down, and I'm quoting, I have made 0 phone calls this week.
0 calls.
0. It's Tuesday afternoon, 0 calls made. So the internal narrative, the script that's just looping in your head is screaming, I am behind, I am failing, I am old Greg all over again.
Right, and that is precisely why this deep dive is not a pep talk.
Yeah.
The looper instructions were so specific about this. This is not about motivation. This is about orientation.
I really want to pause on that distinction because it is so crucial, and I think almost everyone gets this wrong.
They do.
Orientation versus motivation. The natural instinct when you're sitting there in your pajamas at 2 in the afternoon feeling like a total screw-up. You look for a hype track. You want to hear David Goggins screaming in your ear to stay hard. You want someone to just yell at you until you finally move.
You want an external force to just override your internal state, a shock to the system.
Yeah.
But biologically, that is the absolute wrong move.
Wrong how?
If we look at the behavior ops manual, specifically the sections on arousal control and chemical scripts, trying to overlay that kind of high energy, high cortisol motivation on top of a low GABA, high shame state is it's expensive.
Expensive, energetically expensive.
It's biologically expensive. You burn through whatever remaining neurotransmitters you have left. It's like revving an engine that has no oil in it.
Right.
You might get a momentary burst of movement, sure, but you're damaging the engine, and it almost always leads to a secondary crash that's even deeper than the first one.
Okay.
Orientation is different. Orientation is just looking at the GPS and saying, you are here.
That's it.
It's value neutral. It doesn't judge.
Yeah.
It just stops the panic of being lost.
So where is here? Because to you, right now, here feels like a complete disaster zone. It feels like failure.
Here is simply day 8. That is the first, most important pivot we have to make.
Yeah.
The timeline didn't stop because you felt hungover. The curriculum didn't pause because you didn't make calls. Today is February 17th. It is day 8. The Earth kept spinning.
Right.
And honestly, if you really look at the transurfing principles, the fact that you are currently sitting in the wreckage of your own expectations, it's actually the perfect laboratory for understanding today's lesson.
That's a bold take. You're saying sitting in pajamas with a big fat 0 on the scoreboard is the perfect place to start the Pink Twins.
It's the only place you are. So we have to work from there. You can't start a journey from where you wish you were.
True.
But yes, to understand the pink twins, you first have to understand why you feel this way. We have to look at the mirror principle.
The fear principle. This is the core of all of Zealand's work in reality transurfing.
It's a whole game.
The world is a mirror. You hear that a lot in like generic self-help, right? Life reflects you. But Zealand means it in a very specific, almost technical way.
He does. He describes reality as a dual mirror. On one side, you have the metaphysical space of variations. That's the script, the potential, the infinite possibilities of what can happen.
Okay.
On the other side, you have the material realization, the physical world we see and walk around in. The mirror reflects your relationship to the world. But, and this is the critical point that is causing all the suffering right now, there is a delay.
The delay. Okay, let's unpack that. Because we live in a world of instant gratification. We want that instant feedback.
Think of it like the light from a distant star. When you look up at the night sky, you aren't seeing the star as it is right now. You're seeing it as it was years ago, maybe millions of years ago, because it took all that time for its light to travel across the universe and hit your retina.
Got it.
The mirror of reality works the same way. The physical reality you're experiencing at this moment, the pajamas, the empty call log, the headache, the shame, this is not a reflection of your current potential.
It's an old photograph.
It's an old photograph, exactly. It's a lagging indicator. It is the solidified reflection of old Greg from a few days ago. The Greg who decided to drink, the one who didn't set up his systems, the one who allowed the drift.
So that reality has now arrived. It's materialized.
It has. And the mistake people make, the trap you are in right now, is that you look at that reflection and you accept it as the truth of who you are today.
Right. You look at the 0 calls and say, this is my identity. I am a guy who doesn't make calls. I am a guy who fails on day 1.
You stare at the mirror. The mirror shows chaos. You react to that image with fear and guilt. You generate fear, guilt, energy. And what does the mirror do with that energy?
It just reflects it right back at you. Oh, you want more failure? Here you go.
It creates a feedback loop. You're trying to change the reflection by grabbing the glass. You can't change it by touching the glass. You have to change the image you're emitting. But that is the hardest thing in the world to do when the reflection is screaming failure back at you.
It's incredibly difficult. I mean, it feels delusional to stand there in your pajamas with a headache and try to admit, I am a successful business owner. It feels like you're just lying to yourself.
It feels that way to the logical mind, yes. But this is where we have to reframe the stumble. We need to look at the data again.
Okay.
In your journal, you wrote, I didn't do so great today. I stumbled right out of the blocks. Now, to old Greg, that's a confession. That's an admission of defeat.
Right. It's evidence for the prosecution. Case closed.
But to Greg 3.1, the version you're building, that is just data. And the fact that you wrote it down is the victory.
It is.
That is the nuance we absolutely cannot miss.
How so? Because writing down I failed still feels a lot like failure.
It proves the observer is online. We talked about this in day 2, Hacking the Dream. If you were truly asleep, if you were fully back in that old Greg script, you wouldn't have journaled. You wouldn't be listening to this deep dive right now.
You'd be numbing out.
Completely. You'd be watching Netflix, eating junk food, and totally ignoring the feeling. You'd be dissociating.
You'd be hiding from the data.
Exactly. The fact that you are feeling the friction and you're documented the failure means a part of you is standing outside the failure, watching it happen.
Like the scientist observing the crash test dummy.
That's it. The dummy hit the wall, but the scientist is holding the clipboard.
And the scientist doesn't cry when the dummy crashes.
The scientist takes notes. Okay, dummy crash. Why? Alcohol? Script failure. Noted. That is the victory. You have to realize that the guilt you're feeling is scientifically counterproductive. Zealand calls it excess potential.
Excess potential. A huge Zealand term. That's making things too important, right?
It's assigning massive, oversized significance to an event. By stressing out over the 0 calls, by making it this monumental moral failure in your mind, you're creating a tension field.
Okay.
And the universe always seeks balance. The more you scream internally, I must make calls or I am a failure, the more resistance the universe creates to equalize that tension.
So the anxiety itself is actually pushing the phone further away. It's like magnetic repulsion.
It's a force field. You're making the phone weigh 1,000 pounds because you've attached all your self-worth to it.
This connects perfectly to that quote from the Day 8 Looper entry, the Epictetus one, the enemy of happiness.
It is quite impossible to unite happiness with a yearning for what we don't have.
And you are yearning. You're yearning for a version of this week where you made 50 calls. You're yearning for a Monday that never happened.
But that version is gone.
Yeah.
It's a ghost. It doesn't exist in this timeline. And yearning for it is stealing all the energy you need for today.
Right.
Which brings us, finally, to the tool for fixing this. The Pink Twins.
Okay, let's get into it. Day 8 theme, the Pink Twins. Put on the rose-colored glasses. Now, you have to help me here, because for a guy who feels behind, who feels like a failure, put on rose-colored glasses sounds an awful lot like ignore your problems.
Yeah.
It sounds like toxic positivity. Just smile, everything's fine.
It sounds like denial. I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But Zealand argues it's a mechanical necessity for navigation.
Okay.
Imagine the variant space, the future, is a forest. There are infinite paths through it. Some are lit by sunlight. Those are the pink paths. Some are dark, swampy, full of thorns, the gloom paths.
And both exist. They're both equally real.
They are. Old Greg is obsessed with the thorns. He's looking at the zero calls and saying, look at this failure. Look how far behind I am. Look at this headache. By focusing on all the gloomy details, he is literally steering his life track into the gloom sector of the forest.
He's tuning his radio to the failure station.
And when you tune to the failure station, what song plays next?
More failure.
Always. The Pink Twins method isn't about pretending the thorns aren't there. It's about choosing to look for the sunlight so you can steer the car that way. It's a steering mechanism.
So it's not denial, it's focus.
It's focus. The instruction is to deliberately ignore the negative news, the zero calls, the headache. Not because they aren't real, but because engaging with them just feeds them more energy. Instead, you have to look for paradise traits.
Paradise traits. Finding the sparkle in the garbage.
Finding the sparkle. For the rest of this Tuesday, your operational task is to stop looking at the gloom metric, the zero calls, and to look for any small positive you can find. Maybe the sun is shining. Maybe your coffee tasted good. Maybe you're just grateful you have the time to listen to this deep dive.
It sounds trivial.
It is trivial to the logical mind. The logical mind is screaming, how does enjoying my coffee fix my revenue problem?
Exactly.
But to the metaphysical mirror, it's a command. If you can shift your frequency from guilt to appreciation for even 1 hour, you interrupt the feedback loop. You stop feeding the monster.
You cannot steer the boat by staring at the wake.
And right now, your wake is messy. You have to look at the horizon.
I love that image. Okay, let's pivot. We've talked metaphysics. I want to talk biology because we have the behavior ops manual, and it gives us a very different lens on why you feel like such a mess right now. It's not just mindset. It's chemicals.
It is purely biology. And frankly, this is usually the missing link for people. They think they're having some kind of spiritual crisis when really they're just having a chemistry crisis.
Right.
We need to talk about the hangover reset mechanism and a neurotransmitter called GABA.
Gamma-aminobutyric acid, the brakes of the brain.
Exactly. GABA is what keeps you calm. It regulates composure. It stops the noise. It's the chill-out molecule.
Okay.
Now, the journal confirms you drank on day 1. When you consume alcohol, you are flooding your brain with artificial GABA. That's why you feel relaxed and uninhibited. You're basically borrowing composure from tomorrow.
And the bank always charges interest.
Predatory interest rates. When the alcohol wears off, the brain has down-regulated its own natural GABA production because it thought it had plenty. So for the next, 48 to 72 hours, sometimes longer, you are in a GABA deficit.
And what does a GABA deficit feel like to the conscious mind? It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm low on GABA, does it?
No, the brain interprets the chemical state as a narrative. It feels like impending doom. It feels like the world is ending. It feels like I haven't made any calls and I am a worthless human being.
Wow.
The thought I am worthless is just the brain's translation of the signal. GABA levels are critically low.
That is wild. So the stumble wasn't necessarily a moral failing. You're not a bad person. You're a biological machine running a low GABA script.
Correct. The stumble was a biological script interruption. The Behavior Ops Manual talks about scripts, these automated behaviors we all run. Old Greg has a deeply grooved script that goes, when I feel hungover and anxious, I hide. I stay in pajamas. I avoid the phone.
It's a survival script.
It is. The brain is trying to conserve energy because it feels threatened. And this brings us to a really important concept, permission.
Permission. This is a big one in the manual.
Huge. Permission is the psychological license we give ourselves to act. By stumbling on day 1, you unconsciously gave yourself permission to slide. The logic of the brain was something like, well, the streak is broken. I already ruined the perfect 78 days. So I have permission to be a slob for a week.
The what the hell effect. I ate one cookie, the diet's broken, so I might as well eat the whole box.
That's it, exactly. I miss Monday, so I might as well miss Tuesday. But today, day 8, is about revoking that permission. You need to grant yourself a new permission.
Which is?
Permission to reset.
Not permission to beat yourself up.
No. And this is really counterintuitive, but guilt is actually a form of indulgence.
Say more about that.
When you sit around feeling guilty, you are thinking entirely about yourself. I am bad. I am a failure. I messed up. It is incredibly self-centered.
That is a tough pill to swallow. Guilt is self-centered.
But it's true. When you're wallowing in guilt, you aren't helping your clients. You aren't building the business. You aren't doing the research. You are just servicing your own ego's need for drama.
Wow.
And the Pink Twins approach forces you to look outward at the world and find something good. It breaks the narcissism of guilt.
So, okay, let's talk about the identity shift. How do we break the script? We have the alter ego concept from becoming future Greg.
Right, Todd Herman's work, the alter ego effect. He talks about using a totem.
The glasses or the ring, something physical.
Right, and it seems simple, almost childish, but it works. It anchors the new identity. Old Greg wears pajamas at 2 p.m. Future Greg wears the totem. The source material suggests that just putting on the item physically signals to the brain. We are switching scripts now.
So even if you haven't showered yet, which you haven't, you should put on the totem.
Well, the ideal protocol would be shower, then put on the totem. Treat the body like the machine it is. But yes, the physical act is what starts the change in mental state. You have to change the outside to signal to the inside.
Okay. Now, I want to circle back to the 0 phone calls anxiety, because I know what you want to do. You're listening to this, maybe pacing around the room. You want to hang up this podcast and frantically dial 10 people just to catch up.
Yeah.
You want to fix that 0 on the scoreboard.
And that would be a catastrophic mistake.
Why? Wouldn't action fix the anxiety? Isn't action the cure for fear?
Usually, yes, but not action from this state. The looper is crystal clear. Do not motivate through pressure. If you call your prospects right now while you're in this low GABA, high guilt state, what are you broadcasting?
Desperation.
You're broadcasting need, you're broadcasting scarcity, and people can smell that over the phone. They can hear it in the micro tremors of your voice. They can hear it in your pacing.
Yeah?
The behavior ops manual says, stress kills authority. If you call now, you sound frantic. You sound like a guy who needs the deal. And that just pushes people away.
So the silence of the last few days is actually safer than a frantic, desperate call.
Silence can be powerful. Silence can be reframed.
Yeah.
Panic cannot. Once you show panic, you lose the frame forever.
So you have to lower the importance. Salen says insecurity comes from overestimating importance.
That's it. You've made these phone calls into a life or death situation in your head. You have to reduce the importance. It's just a phone call. It's just a Tuesday. If you can drop the importance, the energy flows. If you keep it high, you stay blocked.
So what do you do today? If you can't make the calls, what's the win? If you shouldn't call, but you also shouldn't do nothing, where's the middle ground?
This brings us to the operational task for today, the day 8 task. It's called the enjoyment audit.
The enjoyment audit. Okay, this was in the looper instructions. Walk us through it.
It is the bridge back to functionality. The instruction is very specific. During your 1.00 p.m. work block, find calm enjoyment in the task. If you feel stress, pause and reset.
Okay, calm enjoyment. That feels very, very different from grind and crush.
It is, because you feel behind. Your instinct is to rush, to multitask, to try to do Monday's work and Tuesday's work all at the same time. The source explicitly forbids this.
Right.
It says it is better to do one single task with calm enjoyment than 50 tasks riddled with anxiety.
So what does that look like in practice?
Just one thing. Maybe it's cleaning your office. Maybe it's sending one low-stakes email to a friend. Maybe it's just organizing your files for the Landman project. But as you do it, you need to channel the Day 43 principle. Visualizing process.
Okay.
Admire the work. If you clean your desk, admire the clean surface. Feel the satisfaction. If you send an email, appreciate the clarity of the text.
It's about reassociating work with pleasure instead of pain.
Exactly. Right now, your brain has wired work to the feeling of hangover guilt pain. You've conditioned yourself to feel bad when you even think about your business. You have to consciously rewire it back to satisfaction.
And obviously, if you're still in your pajamas, the very first task is the morning protocol.
Even if it's the afternoon, the shower, get the supplements in, BGL+, glutamine, cacao. Treat the body like a machine. It's the Day 14 principle. If you don't love yourself, The mirror reflects hostility. Taking care of the biological machine, washing it, fueling it, is the very first signal to the mirror that you're back online.
Okay, so that handles today. Shower. One task. Find the enjoyment, don't panic call.
Right.
But you're still worried about tomorrow. You feel like you have this debt to pay. I missed 2 days. I owe the universe 2 days of work.
Which leads us perfectly to tomorrow, Wednesday, February 18th, day 9.
And the theme.
The theme is the sigh of relief.
The sigh of relief. I like the sound of that. That sounds like exactly what you need.
It is the strategic pivot. The core transurfing principle for day 9 is this: unrealized plans suck energy.
Meaning the list of things you didn't do is actually draining your battery right now.
Yes, it creates mental baggage. You are carrying the weight of Monday and Tuesday on your back right now. Old Greg is whispering in your ear, you have to do Monday's work and Tuesday's work and Wednesday's work tomorrow.
And that's just impossible. You can't live 3 days in one.
Exactly. So the specific task for tomorrow is the not-to-do list.
The not-to-do list.
You need to identify 3 tasks that are worrying old Greg, things you feel you should have done, and you consciously delete them.
Just delete them. Like, not do them at all. Ever.
Delete them. Decide they do not matter. Drop the debt. You cannot pay back time debt. It's impossible. You can only invest the present. If you try to pay back the debt, you will go bankrupt on energy.
That is huge. That's about clearing the cognitive load.
That's the term behavior ops uses. Cognitive load is the RAM in your brain. If 40% of your mental RAM is being used up by guilt over Monday's missed calls, you only have 60% available for your actual pitch tomorrow.
You have to close those background apps?
You have to run Task Manager on your brain and hit End Task on the past.
So tomorrow you start fresh. Day 9 is day 9. It is not day 1 plus all the makeup work.
Correct. The landman pitch requires your full presence. You cannot pitch effectively if you're looking backward over your shoulder.
Let's ground this in the business logic for a second, because the fear is that by not calling, you've ruined the business. You're thinking, I've ghosted these people, the deal is dead.
Which is, it's mathematically false.
Right.
Let's look at the landman economics from day 16. The model you're building is an asset play.
Right.
It's a $21,000 investment of effort that yields a recurring asset. It's a 10-year well.
A week of silence does not dry up a 10-year well.
It doesn't. And you have a tactical advantage here that you were completely forgetting about in your panic. The perplexity research hook.
Ah, right. Remind us of that, because this turns the stumble into a strategy.
The strategy in the looper is to use AI, specifically perplexity, to do deep, insightful research on your prospects before you even call them. This gives you a reason to call that isn't just, hey, just checking in.
So you're not calling to say, hey, sorry, I ghosted you for a few days.
Yeah.
You're calling to say, hey, I was doing some research and I found this incredible data point about your business.
Exactly. It completely bypasses the need for an apology. This connects directly to Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, Law 30. Make accomplishments seem effortless.
Make accomplishments seem effortless. I love this law.
You need to project that the silence of this week was intentional. It was not a failure.
So you don't get on the phone and apologize for being MIA. Oh man, sorry about that. I had a migraine.
Absolutely not. Never apologize for a non-existent offense. Never show the sweat. If you apologize, you frame yourself as flaky and unreliable.
Okay.
If you call with valuable research, you frame the silence as deep work.
I've been busy in the lab.
I have been building the system for you. It's Law 16. Use absence to increase respect. The fact that you haven't been blowing up their phones can be reframed as you being a high-value, busy operator who only calls when you have something important to say.
That is the ultimate reframe. Silence isn't hiding, it's positioning.
If you control the frame, yes. That's a master's verdict. You decide what the truth is, you tell the mirror what the silence meant, and the mirror reflects that reality back.
Okay, this is grounding. This is really grounding. So you're not behind. You're positioning. You're resetting. We have the pink twins to steer out of the gloom today. We have the enjoyment on it for this afternoon. What are the final marching orders for tonight? How do we close day 8 properly so that day 9 actually works?
The guardrails. Specifically, the 8:30 p.m. digital sunset.
The hard stop.
The looper is strict on this. No screams, no planning, no guilt past 8:30 p.m. The day is over.
Why is that hard stop so important?
Because your GABA is fried. We already established that. You need deep restorative sleep to rebuild your neurotransmitters. If you stay up late trying to plan your way out of the anxiety or doom scrolling to numb it, You're just borrowing from tomorrow's energy again.
You're extending the debt.
Exactly. You have to shut the machine down.
And the one-win concept.
This is the close the day protocol. Before you go to sleep, write down one win from today. Just one.
Like what?
It could be anything. I listened to the deep dive. I finally showered. I didn't drink alcohol today.
It seems so small.
It is massive for your brain's reticular activating system. You need to prove to your brain that you are capable of winning again. If you go to sleep with a win, you wake up with momentum. If you go to sleep with a loss, you wake up with resistance.
And the target for tomorrow morning, what's the only thing that matters?
5:55 a.m.
That's it.
That is the only target. Not make 100 calls, not be perfect. Just wake up at 5:55 a.m. and put on the totem.
Reset the timeline.
Reset the timeline. Today is day 8. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. The stumble was just a test of the observer.
And as the looper says, move calmly. Let the sequence unfold.
Move calmly. Let the sequence unfold.
Tomorrow is a sigh of relief. We'll see you there.
Focus on the pink.